Well, hello and good morning to everybody for joining us, who have joined us. We're going to get started now with our third in our series of Masterclass, Senior Living Masterclass, Part 3, Declutter Your Life, the Art of Moving During COVID. Welcome everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Katie O'Brien, and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing here at the Admiral at the Lake, and we appreciate you being with us today. Just a quick overview of the schedule. Marnie plans to present for about 20 minutes or so. Plus, we'll be taking questions during the presentation, or for sure following her presentation, we can take some questions. So please feel free to use the chat feature in the Zoom call today to submit any questions you have for Marnie during her presentation. So without further ado, let's get started. Marnie Dawson specializes in downsizing and moving process and has been working in the industry since 2008. She's a certified senior move manager and mentor, and also A+ accredited through the National Association of Senior Move Managers. She also sits on a board as a board member of the Illinois Continuity of Care organization. And Marnie is a close friend of the Admiral at the Lake, and we often hear rave reviews when she's working with our residents and how she's able to help them manage the process, simplify it, and really be a partner for people during the transition. So Marnie, I'll turn it over to you for your presentation. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, Katie, thank you so much for having me this morning. I'm so pleased to be able to talk to people because I know right now we're in sort of this challenging time of COVID and the pandemic, and the concept of moving during this time, I mean, on any good day, moving is a little bit stressful and people get a little overwhelmed, but you add this other layer to this process and it can become overwhelming. So we've actually been helping people throughout the entire pandemic because movers are essential workers. So we figured out early on, we did a lot of training and learned some things to help make the transition go smoother, but also some good, just sort of general practices and to implement during a move. And then, because I can't do anything without talking about downsizing, I'm going to, at the end of the presentation, I have some tips and some just general good practices for downsizing. So the presentation will sort of have two parts to it. And the first part's about how do you move during a pandemic. And as with any move in general, a little planning goes a very long way. And there are kind of three basics to keep in mind when planning a move. Number one, everybody needs to wear a mask. No matter who you are during a move, you're going to have movers in your home. You might have packing help in your home. You're going to have family members in your home. Everybody needs to wear a mask. Now, if you have a health reason for not wearing a mask, then you might want to find somebody else who can handle the actual move and interaction with all of the people. A move manager might be helpful. Maybe you have a family member who can be your point person for your move. But and that's if you can't wear a mask, but really just for the safety of everybody involved, everybody needs to wear a mask. The second basic for making a move go smoothly and safely is sanitation. I like to set up a hand washing station in one of the bathrooms of your home during a move. And this is a place where everybody, the movers, packers, anybody involved in your move, the people helping you unpack, will go there and wash their hands on a regular basis, including you, and then have disinfectant available to wipe surfaces down, including doorknobs, light switches, things that you touch regularly during a move. So that's the second basic. And the third basic is practice social distancing. And when it comes to a move, this is a little harder because you will have 3 to 4 guys coming, and usually guys coming to do the actual moving. And if you have help packing or managing a move, there's going to be other people involved. So you want to plan your day so that you have a safe space where you're not face to face with everybody throughout the move day. Maybe create a little safe corner and ask the movers to move that at the end. Consider that normally when you do a move, you want to have a lot of family around to help you, but in this situation, this is not the time to bring in lots of family to help you with the move. So you want to limit the number of people involved, because if you're not careful, you can have 10 people in a 2-3 bedroom apartment, and that gets way too crowded. So you want to plan how to stagger people and how to keep your social distancing and how to protect yourself from the one-on-one interactions with folks. So that's sort of the 3 key basics: wear a mask, keep things sanitized, and practice social distancing. Now, when you're choosing a moving company and maybe other professionals to help you with the move, take the time and ask them their COVID policies and procedures. Do they even have one? Because if they don't, maybe you want to move on to the next company. If they do have it, find out what it is and how it affects your move day and what's going to happen in your home. For example, my team is required before they leave their home every day to take their temperature. They are required to wear masks, and they carry with them everywhere they go a kit that has hand sanitizer, soap, paper towels, disinfectant wipes. And my team stops every hour when we're working in somebody's home to go wash their hands and get started again. So we're doing everything we can to protect ourselves and you from cross-contamination, I guess is the best way to phrase that. So when you're interviewing a moving company or anybody to be involved, please take that time and ask them about their policies. And if you're not comfortable with their policy, then I would suggest moving on to another company. The other piece of it is find out what their cancellation policy is too. If you happen to run into some exposure, or what happens if one of their team members comes in contact with COVID, what is the cancellation policy on your move? Moving estimates. The old days, everybody walked into your home and did their moving estimates. Now we've learned how to do estimates virtually. We're all here on devices that can film, so now you can actually do your mover estimates virtually. But something that I've learned along the way is that if you're not careful, you can forget to show the mover things like your linen closet or your coat closet or a little space in the attic or basement where you have stacked stuff that you're planning on moving. So make sure you are prepared to show them everything, because you don't want the movers showing up on move day or the packers showing up and having more stuff than they anticipate, not having enough room on the truck or enough supplies for your move. So take your time with your virtual estimates and show them everything. Good question. So are the moving companies understanding about wearing masks during the move? So yes, moving companies do understand wearing masks during the move. They do have a tendency to tell you that they're getting hot or things and their masks come down over their nose, or they'll take them down when they go out of your home. You have the right to remind them to pull their mask up over their faces. And yes, they should be wearing a mask, but pretty much every moving company is wearing the masks. Now, should they wear gloves? If they're washing their hands on a regular basis, not necessarily. The gloves are really they're not with the whole contamination issue. They're not going to expose you by not wearing gloves. Most of the time movers wear gloves anyway, because they're touching all those things on a regular basis, and that protects their hands. Are there still concerns about cardboard boxes being contaminated with COVID is another question. And that the whole concept of touch cross-contamination has dropped down. So you want to limit your time touching the boxes, but as long as you're washing your hands afterwards, and that's really the best method, your contamination risks are pretty low. That's also why letting somebody else unpack your stuff is good. But once again, we're going to be touching your things. So remember, just make sure everybody's washing their hands and you're wiping things down. I hope that answered those questions. One of the other things that you can do is prior to the arrival of anybody coming into your home to pack and move, be sure to separate anything that you do not want them to touch. You want to put things like your keys, your toiletries, maybe the book you're reading, your computer, your printer, your phone, a change of clothes, kind of set them aside into a no-touch zone. Maybe pack a suitcase where you put these things. Gather these items ahead of time or label them do not touch so that the movers don't pack them up within the move. I know when I work with clients, I usually go around the home and ask them, what do you want? Like, if we pack you the day before, you're going to need to have some plates and forks and knives so you can have some dinner the night before the move and some breakfast. Gather those things all ahead of time so that you're not having to work one-on-one with somebody who's asking you to pull those out. So the more you do ahead of time, the easier and smoother it will be, and the less likely of other people touching your stuff that you don't want to touch. And our whole goal is just to create as much social distance as possible. Know that everything about this process is going to be a little bit slower, and it's going to take a little bit longer. This includes making arrangements for the move, because many people are working remotely, so they get an answer, then they have to go to the head office, and things can take longer to happen. And the actual pack day and move day, because of added protocols of hand washing, mask wearing, all of these things, and different things that happen throughout the move, are going to slow down the process a little. So one of the things that I have noticed during this whole time is that moving is taking a little longer, and the process is taking a little longer. I know I used to come in and we would have the movers be there to drop everything off, and immediately I would have a team of 3 or 4 people there to unpack right away. Now that's too crowded of a space. So we have a couple people there to help get you set up for overnight. And then the next day, we come a smaller team to unpack and set up. All of these things take a little more time. It can all be done. It can all be done safely. It's just about planning ahead and doing what you can to protect yourself. And that's sort of my tips for moving. I know that the Admiral at the Lake asked me some good questions. Does anybody else who's attending have any questions specifically about moving and COVID and anything that I can answer? So the next question says, I have many books. Can I donate them? Are there places taking donations right now? And that's a really good COVID question. Yes, the donation places have opened up. The challenge with them is that concept of free pickups where the Salvation Army or the Habitat for Humanity will come to your home and pick up donations right now is not the way it used to be. Every donation place that does a pickup wants a contactless pickup, and they're also booked 3 or 4 weeks out. And that what they mean by a contactless pickup is they want the items brought to either a garage or a loading dock. So that's the free pickups that come to your home. So what I've been doing is using movers or services that you can find on dolly.com to take things to donation. Specifically about books, a lot of libraries are closed. The Newberry sadly did not have their book sale this year, so they're not accepting books. But organizations such as Open Books are still accepting books, and they have drop-offs, and you can also schedule, if you have a large collection, book pickups through Open Books. And there's another company, if you have a large collection that you're letting go, Sabra Books is still picking up books. But when it comes to donations in general, it's sort of drop-offs, or if they come to your home, you have to set it up in a way that it's a contactless pickup. So the next question is, do I help stage homes for sale? Yes, we can help stage homes for sale. And that is something that we do. So now I want to transition to downsizing, because pandemic or no pandemic, and decluttering, it's always, I advise that people always declutter and downsize before you move, because it doesn't make sense to pay for your things to be moved to a new place if you're just going to get rid of them after you arrive at your new home. Your move is a great opportunity to set things free. So I'm going to suggest, if you are considering moving, start by going through your possessions as early as possible. It's easy to underestimate how long it takes to go through everything and the number of decisions that you have to make when you're sorting through things. And the reality is, many of us are finding decision making just a little bit harder right now. You know, we're isolated in our homes, we're separated from people, so it sometimes is a little more challenging. That's why these video things are very good, because you can set it up and you can do a video interaction with your daughter or your son and show them things and talk to them about pieces. So learning how to use Zoom has been really helpful for virtual sorting. Now, I have 5 tips, whether it's a pandemic or not, that I always like to say when we're thinking about, if you're thinking about downsizing and moving. And tip number 1 is start the sorting process with something small and easy, because it really doesn't matter where you start the sorting process. You just have to start somewhere in your home. A lot of people call me up and say, where do I begin? Pick anywhere, one area in your home. Something that might seem easy, like a closet or a bathroom, the guest bathroom, and start there. And at first, that sorting process will be just a little bit challenging and a little bit hard. I mean, you've spent your life collecting and bringing things into your home. Now we're going to ask you to go in reverse. I called it building the giving away muscle, because you go like this to bring things into your home, and now you're going to build a new muscle, the giving away muscle. And after some time, you'll discover it becomes actually easier to let things go. My downsizing tip number 2, your new home cannot be a warehouse for your children's stuff. A lot of homes I go into have things that are there for their kids. They've either left their stuff behind when they moved out, or maybe they're in a place and they've dropped some stuff off for their parents to store, or maybe their parents are holding on to things for them that they want to give to their kids. It is time for everybody to deal with this stuff. It's time to talk to your kids about it. Do they still want the items? Will they come pick it up? Can you ship it to them? Or do you have permission to actually get rid of it? And in these cases, I find deadlines to be helpful, to say by the end of October, we need to know such and such. But don't bring to your new home your kids' stuff. Your new home should be your things. Tip number 3, create a furniture plan for your new home. For me, this is one of the most important downsizing steps. You get your blank floor plan, and you take time to map out the furniture placement in your new home. And you want to make sure it's to scale so you know things really fit. And the reason this is important is because, 1, it helps you visualize your new home and how your things fit into it. And it helps you as you're sorting through your home, because now you know how many cabinets, drawers, bookshelves you have, and you can plan accordingly. And it helps sort of get you in the direction of thinking about the new place. My downsizing tip number 4, curate your collections. Now, some sorting areas are really, really tough. One of these is when we think about our collections. A collection can be your books, your artwork, your collection of ceramic owls, trains. It can be anything that you have a number of items. And of course, we love and we feel as we cannot live without our collections. Our collections, they represent time, they represent memories, they represent the people who gave us the pieces. They represent that hunt of finding that perfect little something, or that souvenir from a vacation. If you look at your collection as one thing, my books, my artwork, my ceramic owls, you're never going to get anywhere. But collections aren't one thing. They're actually made up of individual pieces. So if you stop and evaluate each individual piece, you will find that there are some pieces you can let go. Maybe it was a gift from somebody you don't like anymore, or maybe something is broken, or maybe it was never your favorite in the first place. Maybe it's a selection of books that you bought and you picked up the first one, never read. Sometimes you'll realize that there are pieces of a collection that you can actually share with others, and they can enjoy your collection. If you do this, you will have a smaller collection, but it'll be the best representation, and it'll represent who you are now. So take some time to curate your collections. Downsizing tip number 5. Consider gifting your family heirlooms and your legacy gifts now. Maybe there's an antique clock in your foyer that you plan to one day leave to your son, or the china collection that your granddaughter actually adores. If there are certain heirloom pieces that you plan to leave to your family in your will, consider gifting those gifts now. I know when my grandfather gave me a painting that I always wanted, it meant so much to me. And it was wonderful to share with him that place of pride that it takes in my home. Instead of waiting to get it till after he passed away, it was more of this celebration of the piece, that the gift giving. This is a good time to talk to your children or grandchildren if they want anything from your home. You might be surprised. I hear a lot, my kids don't want anything. That's because they don't necessarily want what you think they should have, but I'm betting there are things in your home that they do want. And if you're ready and you're willing to, now's a good time to let them have those things. And if they don't want the china set, maybe consider using the china set now and letting go of the everyday ordinary dishes. Because if they don't want it now, they're not going to want it later. So what are you saving it for? So giving your legacy gifts now helps get the items out of the way for downsizing, which is one good thing. But it also helps bring families together to see your loved ones enjoying those gifts. So those are the 5 tips that I have for downsizing and preparing for downsizing. All right, I see a question came up. Do you help sell items? Do you help sell items? So yes, things can be sold in this environment. There are auction houses, there are still dealers buying items. It's a little harder to sell right now during the time of COVID than it used to be, but selling can still happen. I have seen an uptick of people using Facebook groups and Nextdoor apps to do contactless pickups and other things on their front porch and in their alley to sell things to neighbors. But that does take some time and you have to be comfortable. But yes, items can be sold. And if you need some guidance and help, that's something that we do as a company, but there are ways to still sell things. Another question I see is, I have no clue what's going to fit into my new place. Can you talk about space planning? Yes, This is why I always start with space planning, because if you take that floor plan and you start to think about what's going to fit into your place, measure your furniture, and see and think about, when you're planning your space, think about what you actually use in your home now. I know for a lot of people, this is one of the things I've discovered. I've been doing this now 13 years. When people think about their home, they often have a formal living room and a family room where they spend most of their time. And when you get a 2-bedroom apartment or an apartment with a den, they're often setting up a formal room and a den. Maybe consider, when you're thinking about your space planning, creating that living room space, which is nice and big, a place more of, think of it more as your family room. But whatever you do, measure your pieces of furniture and map them out on a floor plan. I have a kit that I can use, so we can take all the pieces and shuffle them around until we find out what fits. We might also discover that something doesn't fit and that 90-inch sofa just isn't going to work. But it's good to know that earlier, so you can decide if you want to get a smaller sofa that is more to scale for your apartment. But so you can do a floor plan yourself. I know if you're planning on moving or thinking about moving to the Admiral, they'll give you a floor plan and you can map it out. There are designers and people like myself that can help you with that space planning. All right, so the next question is, I am not moving. I just want to downsize and my family wants nothing, but I have some items that may be worth money. Where do I start? So what you want to do is start by, if you think you have some things that might be worth money, you might want to take a picture of it or find out what it is, and you might look on the internet and do some searching on eBay and other places to see if people are selling items. Now, one of the hints about eBay or other places when you're looking at those items is that's the price that people want for them. But if you see a lot of things on there, you'll start to see if your items are potentially worth money. If you and then you can use that. You could also go to, like I said, a Facebook marketplace and see if things are out there that are selling for similar prices. Hold on, I accidentally read something. I'll come back to that one. I'll come back. So anyway, so you might want to do some research and see if things are worth money. You have to remember that right now we have a lot of people who've been at home and they've been getting rid of things. So because they've been at home and they've discovered they have too much stuff. And that means that we have this sort of supply demand thing going on, not a lot of buyers and a lot of people giving things up. So right now your things are probably not worth as much as you want them to be worth. But there are, and then if you need some outside professional advice, there are estate liquidators, auction houses that you can send pictures to and get appraisals, or talk to somebody like myself who can come in and talk to you about, are your items worth, or what they might potentially be worth. All right, I see another question. You talked about downsizing a book collection, but do you have any advice on how to donate or recycle collections of vinyl record albums and musical cassettes? Good question. Vinyl record albums can be, there are a couple of, depending on what you have in your collection, there are a couple of record company or record stores around who actually will buy some of your record collections. And Salvation Army and Goodwill still accept vinyl records as donations. So if you want to donate them, you can do that. If you want to try to sell them for 25 cents to $1 a piece, you can take them to one of the record stores and try to sell them there. Musical cassettes, those would have to be recycled, and I don't have that resource on me right now. I will try to find it again for you and send it to the Admiral, but musical cassettes are not really donation items, so we would have to recycle those. And I will look that up because I can't remember it. Good question. I'm writing a note to myself. Okay. Any other questions from anybody about downsizing? I think that's my 20 minutes. I don't even know what my timing was.
That was wonderful, Marnie. Yeah, I think you were right on time, right on schedule. Thank you so much.
Oh, what about,
Yep, another question came in. Great.
stamp collections. So stamps have the same challenge that the collectors of stamps are. The younger folks are not collecting stamps the way I can't remember the name of stamp collectors, but they're not as much. There are a couple, there's a Stamp King and a couple companies that you can reach out to and see if your stamp collection has value. But stamps are not holding the value they used to have. There's also an auction house that still does some stamps called Lot 14. And you can look them up and see if they would be interested in selling your stamp collection. Oh, there's still questions. We were just a little too soon. If you want to sell on eBay, I'm better baffled about actually, are there any services to pack and ship small stuff for you? Yes, actually the UPS store and the FedEx stores usually offer packaging and shipping services and do have an eBay price point for doing that. This is part of the challenge of selling things on eBay, is that it takes time and it does require the actual follow-up and going through to do it. But if it's something you want to do and you're able to, yes, the UPS store will package and ship, and FedEx will as well. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Marnie. This was wonderful. I'm just kind of holding on just a few more minutes to see if there's any questions, but this was great insights, and there have been some changes. So I appreciate your experience that you've had and giving those insights into what's happening currently and what you've seen over the past couple of months. So it's really helpful to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, well, just while we're waiting, one of the curious things is that over the summer, the two things that went up in value were small desks and outdoor patio furniture, because people were at home and people were setting up their home offices. So
yeah. And
other things went down. Those two things went up in value.
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
An interesting little piece.
Yeah. And we had a presentation previously that homes are selling, and it is a seller's market right now. So
yes, actually we do a lot of work to get people ready and then know that it's going to jump right out and hopefully sell for you. So my name of my company is Dawson Relocation Services.
And we'd also be happy to connect you with Marnie as well, and we'll be featuring her information is on our website, and we'll also be featuring it with our social media. And this presentation is also going to be available for people who weren't able to join us today. It will be available on our website as well. So, and that does conclude our master class today. Thank you so much for everybody for attending. If you are interested in taking a tour, would like to learn more about the Admiral, learn more about our available apartments, or have any questions at all, please feel free to give us a call here at the Admiral at the Lake. We can take your call at 773-654-5206. And also any questions you might have, and have a great day. Stay safe and enjoy this beautiful fall day. Take care.